Manhood Hour is coming up in the third hour every Wednesday. Manhood Hour. Rebuilding the family by rebuilding the man. But for now, the greatest hour of all hours, my friend, my nonprofit friend, the world's friend, the next president after Donald Trump, the smartest white man on this, one of the smartest white men on this side of heaven is here. It's the end of the month again. And Bill Lockwood is here. And Bill is the host of Patriotic Pulpit, and Bible Studies with Bill Lockwood. He's a preacher of Our Park Church of Christ in Texas. And I'm encouraging you to support him. All right? Support Bill. His work is desperately needed. Really. And I'm not just saying that, folks. And so go to American Liberty with BillLockwood.com. American Liberty with BillLockwood.com. All right. Bill.
Good morning, Jesse. How are you today?
All is well. How are you, sir?
Great. It's great to be with you again. Thank you for the plug there.
Oh, yeah. I really do want people to help you because you're doing some serious work. You're really putting the truth out there that we all need to know. I've learned so much from you that it's not even funny. It's amazing.
Well, thank you for that, Jesse. Well, I try. I'm a student and I try to put it out there, but thank you so much for that. I enjoy you and I sure appreciate your stand for truth.
Yeah, we got to stand. So I got to ask, so much I want to talk to you about. For right now, how are you seeing things? How do you see what's happening in my country right now?
Well, in my view, I'm going to quote Christopher Rufo. Christopher Rufo wrote a book regarding the takeover of America by socialism, communism, and how the radical left has won everything. And his latest book, anyway, he says in the book, he says really they're at the end game. They're at the final conclusion point of it. That is, we've been going down a socialistic track for almost 100 years, maybe a little bit more than 100 years at least. But he says they're at the end game now, and that's why we're seeing so much violence, and that's why we're seeing so much rancorous activity in America, because they're trying to put the capstone on it at this particular point. And that's what they're trying to do. They tried to do it with Barack Obama. We kind of resisted, and we had Donald Trump come in there, but boy, they came unglued at that particular point. And then, of course, we have Joe Biden, who's just sold us down the river, and then Kamala Harris. They're just going to finish us off into this communistic, socialistic state.
Amazing. I was thinking about the illegal alien situation, and though I wasn't paying a lot of attention to politics when Ronald Reagan was in there, but I do remember an uproar about amnesty, and it seemed like Ronald Reagan was one of the first presidents who allowed amnesty under the promise that it would only last for so long, it would be the only one or something like that. And I remember some Republicans saying that it wasn't true. And it seemed as though Ronald Reagan opened the floodgate of amnesty in America. Is that true, or am I seeing that wrong?
No, I think you're correct on that. Now, my understanding of that, and if I'm incorrect on this, I'm happy to be corrected. But my understanding is Ronald Reagan had made a deal with the Democrats, Tip O'Neill, and the deal was that they were going to secure the border. The Senate was going to secure the border, but they wanted to have amnesty for I think it was like something like I don't know, maybe 1 million or 2 million illegals that were in here at that particular time. So he gave amnesty under the impression that the border would be sealed. But that is what the Democrats refused to do. They never sealed the border, and Reagan said it was one of his mistakes because they absolutely did not follow through with their promise. They don't follow through with their promises. They talk a big game, but they don't do it because they want illegals. They dislike America. They hate the America that we have. And so they want to absolutely change the culture entirely of it. And so we have really what what is a cultural war going on. That's what Christopher Rufo's book's all about. But we have a cultural war. And the reason Democrats by the way, to allow the illegals in here as they have done is not only a cultural war, but it is a violation of law. Kamala Harris has overseen, along with Joe Biden, the destruction of the American law system by the breakdown of the border. It's all illegal. And she doesn't want to call them illegal. She's on tape now. We see on tape saying, give them all amnesty because that's all they want. They can't win on their ideas. So they ended up flooding America with illegals. And the chaos that we see is the result of their desire.
Yeah. Were you surprised when they imposed the Haitian on the people in Ohio, a little small town in Ohio out of nowhere, and now down in Ohio area there's nothing but chaos. The blacks are eating the cats and the dogs and the ducks from the ponds, and it's just nothing but chaos, car accidents and all kinds of stuff. Were you surprised when they dumped the blacks on the white people in Ohio?
No, they wanted to do that. See, Barack Obama had done that himself. He had flown huge groups of Muslims from the Middle East, and they just flew them over the border. They airlifted them in, so they don't cross the border actually on foot. They airlift them in, and so what did he do? He put huge minority populations, for example, in Amarillo, Texas. So in Amarillo, which was a huge conservative stronghold, they actually dilute the voting bloc by doing that. And that's what Barack Obama did. That's what Joe Biden is doing. So he puts them into these big conservative zones, and he absolutely destroys the voting bloc as well as the peace and law and order of those particular neighborhoods. And that is not surprising. That's what they want. FDR said this, Jesse, that in politics, nothing happens by accident. This is not accidental. This is not something, that's too bad that happened. I can't believe that happened. No, this is what they desire. This is what they knew was going to happen. This is what they planned for the chaos for America.
When you first heard about the assassination attempts on Donald Trump, the Great White Hope, what were your first thoughts? Were you surprised? And then the way it's been dealt with now, they're trying to blame Donald Trump for it, saying that his rhetoric is causing it. And were you surprised, and are you surprised at the way that the government is dealing with it, almost like it's not a big deal?
Right, yeah. So when Donald Trump was first elected, it's interesting that we had people declaring that these celebrities and liberals declaring that they were going to blow up the White House, that they were going to have him assassinated. Snoop Dogg had a video in which he depicted the assassination of Donald Trump. Don't tell me it's Donald Trump's rhetoric. This is how the left has behaved from the time he was elected. Before he even took seat in office, they were already talking violently about getting rid of the president. Then you have Katie Griffin, who is out there depicting a beheading of Donald Trump. And this was going on and on and on. They talked about the loss of our democracy. They don't even know what democracy is. But at any rate, they're the ones who started this all. They started that before he even did one legislative act or one executive action.
And so when you heard of that first attack, when they shot him in the ear,
right?
And then what were your thoughts with the first attack, assassination attempt?
Well, I just thought the deep state has ginned up enough hatred against Donald Trump that they are actually going to try to carry this out. And I thought I didn't know that he had only been wounded so slightly, but I have felt in my bones for a long time that this is what they have desired. This is what they've wanted. This is what they've talked about. They've done everything except put the gun in the hands of assassins and sent them out there. They've done everything but that. And so now we have another guy that was at the golf course trying the same thing. But these people are, you know what? Vladimir Lenin said it best. He said that we have a country of useful idiots. They're useful to the left, and they're idiots because they are controlled by the mainstream media, the leftist media, who gins up hatred against Donald Trump and anyone who wants to roll back the size of government. Anybody who's a conservative of any kind, they want to roll it back, and they want to destroy that person. And that's exactly what's happening here.
And now they're saying, some news outlets are reporting that Iran, I think it's Iran, want to take him out too, and
Right.
they have somehow or another gotten into his computer system and all that kind of stuff, and the Democrats still don't care. I'm stunned because I'm learning as I talk to you about this. I'm stunned that our government, the American government, is so against the people and hunger and thirst after power and wealth that they would do almost anything to get it. And now I'm concerned that Donald Trump won't make it until the election time. I just don't know what to think at this point.
Well, it is difficult to swallow, and I think it is so evil and wicked, as you understand also, that I think American people have a hard time believing that we can have such a deep state that is so wicked and so evil.
Yeah.
For example, the Biden White House has been in joining hands with the prosecutorial business in New York and in Georgia, trying to put Trump behind bars.
Yeah.
What is the president of the United States, the Democrat Party, doing, joining with the prosecutors at local places, trying to get them to put Donald Trump away? You know, the depth of their wickedness knows no bounds. It is. We don't know how deep it is. So I would not be surprised if the Biden administration is not somehow knowing about some of these things, at least from Iran, knowing about these. You know what? By the way, at the Pennsylvania attack against Donald Trump, do you know the Secret Service had resisted having a counter sniper for months previous? That was the first time, I understand, that they had a counter sniper on the roof. They had resisted that. They didn't want to do it. As a matter of fact, Democrats have wanted to pull away the Secret Service protection from Donald Trump. Some of the congressmen did that because, well, he's a convicted felon, so therefore he should have no Secret Service protection. You know very well what they know what's going to happen here. They absolutely know that we have wickedness in this country, and there are a lot of people willing to pull the trigger. And that's exactly what I think the Democrats are all about.
There are people who believe that Donald Trump, it's crazy. I've literally spoken to people who believe that the whole assassination attempt on Donald Trump, the first one and the second, was a setup. They're saying that Donald Trump did that in order to get attention because he was losing, they say, and he was trying to bring himself back up in the poll, and that he was losing. And they believe that the whole thing was planned.
Yeah, I tell you what. Now just think about that. How stupid is that thought that Donald Trump would plan that he said, I want a sniper over here 130 yards away, and I'm going to turn my head and I want you to take off my right ear. You know what? There is no way anybody would be. I can't believe anybody would be so stupid as to believe okay, yeah, I'm going to stand up there and allow a guy with an AR-15 to shoot at my head. But by the way, I want you to only nick my right ear. Yeah, right. Yeah. But you know, Democrats will believe anything. They believe anything at all. So that's why they're as Vladimir Lenin said. And I don't mean to be so blunt, but Lenin's the one who said it. They're useful idiots. They're useful to the left cause, and they're idiotic because they believe anything the left media tells them. And that's exactly what that is. It's a useful, idiotic idea.
And so are you saying that the voters that vote, the people who vote for the Democratic Party, are useful idiots, or the representatives?
Well, Vladimir Lenin said that regarding the voters, the people that
that
are out
makes
here.
Sense.
Yeah, the people. He says they're just useful idiots, and he says that's how they are because they want. You see these signs in yards like Harris and Walls. You know, I thought, do Do you understand the basics of our country and the Constitution? Do you understand, Barack Obama also relied upon the useful idiots too, because he lied to the American people to get into office, and then he changed his mind supposedly on marriage between a man and a woman. Said, "No, I think that it's between a man and a man." No, he knew all the time. He was part of homosexual clubs in Chicago. He had already believed in that. David Axelrod came on and said later in his book, said, "No, they lied to the American people to get in office, and then after they get in office, then you go back to your normal belief." And that's exactly what Kamala Harris is doing. She's lying. Well, I believe in fracking. I don't believe in taking guns away from people. No, she believes in all of that.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about Kamala Harris. What is your impression of her? What's wrong with her? She seems to be empty, and she doesn't know how to find a way out of a paper bag.
Yeah, she's just an empty blouse. Yeah, actually, she is only a puppet. Yeah. We know that the deep state recently, just about 700 people from the government deep state, that is, these people that are ensconced in positions of influence in our government, the bureaucracy, the bureaucrats, so democratic leaning, 700 of them have endorsed her. They're the ones who are controlling the government, and she is simply the figurehead. She is an empty blouse, and that's all that she is. And she really doesn't. She got to her position. She got there by sleeping with Willie Brown. That's the deal. And he gave favors to the people that were his mistresses and so forth. And that's what he did in California. She advanced because of that kind of thing. Now, people may say, well, Donald Trump is not morally clean either. That's true. But you know what? It's different with women on this particular case. And people may fall out and jump all over the show saying this, but it's different. It's different from women in the sense that she has advanced in her position due to the men that she has had relationships with in the past. When a man has relationships that are immoral, they usually hurt him. They don't advance him at all.
Right.
But in her case, it has advanced her all the way up. Willie Brown gave her positions because, hey, she is his mistress. So he put her in position, DA of San Francisco, then AG of California. And now look at this. And here's another thing. The Democrats have disenfranchised all of the voters. There's not a single voter in the Democratic primary that voted for her. Not one. They don't care. It's all about power, as you said. It's all about the Barack Obamas and the George Soroses or whoever gathered together and said, we've got to get Joe Biden out and we're putting Kamala Harris in. That's the ones who control this country.
Where did you get that information? Because I've heard that before too about this Jimmy Brown, whatever his name. What's his name?
Willie Brown?
Willie Brown.
Am I saying his name wrong?
No. But where did the story come from about Willie Brown helping her to get going the way she did? Where's that from?
Well, there's a lot of places you can look at. There are several stories. You can look at the New American website. They'll have articles on it. Conservative websites, they'll have stories on this, and that's well known that she was his mistress, and I mean she had pictures with him and so forth, and But at any rate, that's just the case with her.
I remember this song, "Girls, you can't do what the guys do and still be a lady."
Yeah, and of course, I'm not endorsing anyone to be immoral.
Yeah,
and I don't believe that's right, obviously. But that's exactly how her case is. Yeah.
So I know you don't know the outcome of what's going to happen in November, but the way things are looking, will Donald Trump win, or will the Democrats somehow or another get Kamala Harris in there?
Well, I am fearful about it. For one thing, I know that the way Donald Trump talks and others, that we need to flood the voting booth in early voting.
Yeah.
In order to curtail or forestall the cheating that the Democrats do, and that's exactly what they did in the last election. We know that I say cheating, but what, I know that people don't like that, but they changed the laws in certain states, such as the state of Pennsylvania, where they changed the laws about who can early vote and how the voting could be done. Those laws were changed unilaterally by judges, in spite of the fact that the voters are the ones to change the laws. So but that's Donald Trump's statement. He says, you know what? So he's concerned about it. So I read a statement just the other day, and that is that this is a world-class economist, and he made the comment. He said, look, he said, there's no way the left is going to allow Donald Trump to be president again. There's no way that the world globalists are going to allow Donald Trump to be president again, because they have a globalist cabal that is working across the globe, inclusive of the Democratic Party, that refuse the America First agenda.
That's amazing.
And that's it. That's his comment now. So that's any rate. So I don't know. We can take it from there and draw the conclusions as you may.
That's amazing. Well, I definitely don't know. I just have a wait and see attitude too, because anything can happen now. I noticed that the Democrats for a long time have been able to do and say whatever they want, act any kind of way they want, and get away with it, because the Republican Party representatives have not been able to stop the Democrats at all. But if the Republicans were to say something that about the Democrats or whatever that's not true or true,
right,
the Democrat would want to punish the Republican, and the Republican would jump on board with the Democrats to punish their own. I never understood that.
Well, that's because the cleavage in America is not between Democrats and Republicans. The cleavage, and I talk about Democrats in a negative way here, but the cleavage is not really those two parties. The cleavage is between globalists, that is the socialists, and which is inclusive of all the Democrats, as well as many Republicans who are neocons. And those neocons are on the Democratic side. So you have the Mitt Romneys, the late John McCain, and people like that who are neocons. That is, they are socialists, and they are actually the socialists of the Republican Party. There may be more soft socialists, but they are socialists, and so they line up with the Democrats almost on every type of issue. They simply don't want it to go down the track as fast as the Democrats do. So there are many neocons in the Republican Party. They're weak-kneed. They say, we want to work with the Democrats and blah, blah, blah. And you know what? The Democrats are really basically the Marxists of America. We want to compromise with the Democrats. Well, look, we've compromised for over 100 years, and we're almost really now at the capstone of socialism in America. That's what's going on here. The left has controlled everything. They control academia.
Yeah.
They control the mainstream media. They control large corporations. They control the government, the deep state. What is left?
Amazing.
Yeah.
And so we're never gonna. I mean, it's just gonna become a socialist America now. And really, those who are not for it just going to have to live in it and accept it, huh?
You know, the late Walter Williams, the great columnist. You've read Walter Williams. You probably had him on the show some.
And he was he was on my board. Even though he still lives, he was a board member of my nonprofit.
Well, I think he was probably the clearest thinker and greatest columnist, I think, in the last several decades. And he said, you know, socialism is simply the monies that we pay out of our pocket to the federal government. So he said, we work from January until the end of May. Now, when he wrote that article, it was 10, 15 years ago. But now we work to January into June, one half the year, for the man in Washington, D.C. That is nothing but socialism, at least half the socialism. The government allows you to keep half of your money, but they have also floated ideas of extending the tax rates or expanding the tax rates even up to 75%. Kamala Harris wants to expand the tax rate for corporations up to 28%. She wants to take it. They'd love to take it higher and higher and higher, driving companies out of corporations out of this country. Yeah. So that is the definition of socialism, and that is that I can't keep my money. I can stay in my house, but if I don't pay my taxes, they come get it. I can keep my car, but if I don't pay my taxes, they come get it. Who owns it? I'm renting from the government.
Yeah.
I'm renting my car from the government, and that's basically a socialistic idea, and we don't realize it, but we're basically almost really completely socialistic.
So we're already in prison and don't know it.
In a lot of ways, that's true. And that's why it's beginning now to simply work out in the populace, which is why we're seeing so much chaos in the streets and chaos everywhere. That's right.
Amazing. Bill, can I hold you over for one more segment at least?
Sure, that'd be great. Yeah, you bet.
888-7753. 773-888-77 Jesse. Bill Lockwood is here. And when I come back, folks, we're going to tell you how to get all of his information and support Bill Lockwood. Quick break. Back in a moment.
Hey, listen, before I ask my question, I want to thank you so much. The silent prayer, you know, I'm 50 years old. At home, we have a 16-year-old, 14-year-old, and a 10-year-old. And I got to tell you, introducing the silent prayer to my family, instead of just sitting down and saying the same old prayer over and over again before we eat our meal, to just be silent, bringing all thoughts into captivity. Brother, that has been such a huge, huge blessing in our lives. I just want to encourage anyone to try that out. It's amazing to look around after we've done our silent prayer before we eat, to see the excitement in my kids' faces, like, oh yeah, Dad, I had a bunch today. Or the other one will be like, yeah, you know, I had a couple things that I've been thinking about. It really takes root, Jesse, and so I want to thank you so much, and ever since then, it's been absolutely amazing. So thank you so much.
You're welcome, Tony. Stay with it, stay with it, stay with it. You're going to know God and his love. It's going to be amazing, man. Okay, folks, welcome back. We're going to get to your super chats and all that here in a moment. The Hake Report is coming up at 9 a.m. this morning. TheHakeReport.com. And at 11 a.m., Joel Friday TV, he black. At 11, and at 4 p.m., the American Anchor Baby at 4 p.m. So a busy day today. I want to go back to Bill Lockwood because I need to talk to him as long as I can. And then we're going to get to your calls and all that. Bill, before we get back into the communications here, tell folks how to get your website, how to help you, and all kind of stuff.
Oh, thank you for that, Jesse. Well, I have a website that is patriotsforliberty.com. And there's a donate button on there, and you can help out on that one. And then the show is a Patriotic Pulpit, and that's on Amazon Music app as well as Spotify app, and it's on YouTube. So Patriotic Pulpit. And then I have, of course, also Bible studies with Bill Lockwood. Those are the things I do in the pulpit every Sunday, and Bible class and so forth. So, and then right now, I'm, matter of fact, preaching on will America succumb to Marxism? And that's what I'm preaching on, because Marxism is basically an alternative religious orientation. So we need to recognize that. But a lot of people and a lot of preachers are afraid to talk about that, apparently. But that's exactly what we're facing.
Amazing. It's so amazing to see this happening in America. And it's like, it's like there's nothing you can do about it. And that's what's so weird about it. It's just happening, and there's nothing or no one who can stop it.
Well, you know what? I heard Donald Trump say this the other day, but I know it's true because I've done some research myself on this, about the people that are Christians in America are non-participating in the election process.
Yeah, I heard him say that too.
Yeah, George Barna came out the other day. He's at Arizona Christian University north of Glendale, Arizona, and he said that 60 to 75% of people who claim to be Christians do not participate in the election process. And I think their thinking is this, that, well, God is in control, but that's not the issue.
Right.
The issue is not whether God is in control. The issue is, am I to engage in this process? And can my engagement change the course of things? Can it change the course of America? The answer is resoundingly yes, yes, and yes. I should engage. Jonah came to the people of Nineveh, said, 40 days, Nineveh will be destroyed. That was God's promise. But they repented, and God relented. It changed the course of Nineveh because they repented and they got involved in their repentance. The same thing is true regarding Americans. I hear Americans say real blithely, well, God's in control. Well, you know what? It makes a difference whether I live in freedom or slavery, whether I have freedom to own a firearm and protect my own family, or whether I'm going to be subject to gang activity going on here in Wichita Falls or whatever. It makes a difference whether I pay most of my paycheck to the man in Washington, D.C., or whether I can keep my own earnings that God has given me, whether I have freedom of speech or not. It makes a difference whether I can preach in the pulpit or whether I'm going to have to meet in silence. It makes a difference, and that difference is going to be found in the ballot box or in the election booth.
Yeah. I want to add, I was flipping through the channel the other day of the TV, and I saw this little guy.
Okay. Yeah. What did the little guy say?
I saw this little guy, Mike Pence, I think. Mike Pence.
Oh, yeah.
And he was not outright supporting Kamala Harris, but he was outright against Donald Trump.
Right.
And I couldn't, and I'm like, I didn't know what to think about that. And you say, what's wrong with him?
Yeah. Well, I say what's wrong with him. Well, you know what? When Donald Trump selected him, I was a little bit fearful of him anyway, because I think he's way too soft. And at this particular point, we have to have someone who's a president who's going to be strong enough, as Donald Trump said in the last debate with Kamala Harris. He said, that's because I fired a lot of people. She said, well, a lot of those military leaders and other people, they're against you. He said, that's because I fire people if they don't do their job. And so I think that Mike Pence, in my opinion, is way too soft. And it was that hard line that Donald Trump takes. I thought that was too tough. Mike Pence is big against abortion. Well, in this election, if that's the big litmus test issue, why is Mike Pence not on board 100% with Donald Trump? Because Kamala Harris, let me tell you, is for homosexual marriage and for abortion on demand. What does Mike Pence like about that? I don't know.
What a mess.
It is a mess, and I don't think I don't understand why in the world they cannot see straight on that one.
Amazing. So, a question for you: if you live and think foolishly, is God in control of the affairs of your life? That's a question for you.
Yes, it is. God is in control of everything in the world, and that's true. At the same time, we have free will, and we make decisions, and those decisions lead to good outcomes or bad outcomes. So God can use poor or bad outcomes and negative outcomes. He can use those for his greater purposes. That does not mean I'm going to be saved. Doesn't mean that I'm going to be the righteous man. I can lose my soul, but nevertheless, it works out for God's purposes. So God uses those events. But the issue is not, of course, once again, whether God is in control and could utilize those events, which is the case. But the issue is, should I be engaged in the fight for right? Should I be engaged to stand up for truth against error and against the lies of the communists and the Marxists and the leftists and the socialists and the Democrats? Should I be engaged in that?
Yeah.
And the answer is absolutely. If I don't engage, God's going to use all of the events anyway, but the more we engage, the better the outcome will be.
I want to ask about Israel and the war with that's going on, Hezbollah, right? It seems to be escalating, getting worse. And some people are predicting that there may end up being a World War III or something like that. What do you think about this war with Israel and that country?
Well, you know what, I think from the very beginning what Trump said was right. And I'm not saying this just because Trump said it. You know what? we have funneled money to Iran, which is the biggest state sponsor of terror, Hezbollah and Hamas and those countries. And we have funneled money to those countries continually by not being energy independent.
Yeah.
We were energy independent when Trump was president, but the globalists don't want us to be energy independent. They want us to be dependent upon foreign oil from Iran. So we wash them in cash. Obama thought we couldn't get enough of it over there, so Obama sent plane loads of cash. We buy so much oil from them. We have bathed them in cash, and so now they can state sponsor terror all over the world, and that's exactly what they've done. If it would dry up the spigots if we had energy independence in America, which we can do and must do. And that's what the America First agenda is about. But if we can't do that, if we go with a globalist such as Kamala Harris and the United Nations, then we're going to continue to send our funds overseas, and they're going to continue to fight all the time.
I was thinking about the United Nations, and I wanted to ask, and then I want to at least squeeze in one call for you, if not more. But has the United Nations ever done anything good? Have they ever ended any wars? Or I don't even know what they don't seem to be. They don't seem to be good for anything.
Yeah, that's because the design was not to be good. The design was to put us into a global government. The design was to siphon money out of the American taxpayer's pocket, send it to such places as the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, and send it overseas and to fund those nations. That's the goal of the United Nations, is to bring us into a global government. And they said that from the beginning. But they kind of colored it. They kind of hid that in the back rooms. And so that's why those people who were communists, such as Alger Hiss, were involved in, and the Harry Dexter Whites of the FDR administration were involved in the ground floor of the United Nations in order to bring us into a global government. A global governance is how they called it, and to take the money out of the American pockets and send it overseas. And that's why we have never seen anything good from the UN. That's why they're telling us what to do right now.
And so do the American representatives know that? And if they do, are they in support of that too? Just sending our money and not really.
They vote for every year. Yep. Now Donald Trump tried to roll it back with the Paris Climate Accord. He said we're not sending money over there for that because that is a punishment to America, sending money overseas. Joe Biden, the first thing he did when he was in office, he said we're going to get back in the Paris Climate Accord and we're going to send money back over there. It's reparations for our climate sins, and we're going to send them overseas to the third world countries. What is that? That's socialism on a global scale. That's what the United Nations was designed to do.
Amazing. I was thinking the other day, and I said it on my show, I believe, that when I look at the representatives in our country today, all these women and weak men and shallow people, they don't seem to know anything. They have no common sense. They're just, I remember at least in the good old days when I was growing up, men that ran the country, though they had some issues, they were for strong police forces. Make sure you go to jail if you commit a crime. They protected us around the world. They had like real men that would at least stand for that. But we know everybody's so airhead.
Yeah.
They're so.
Yeah, that's right. That's
you
right.
know, but because I can't. I'm thinking about these representatives like from everywhere, but they're so airhead. They just don't have any common sense about anything.
Yeah. Well, you know what, Jesse? I apologize, but I probably ought to split. I probably ought to go here.
Yeah.
I've got a class waiting for me in a few minutes, so I've got to get on into town.
I know, Bill, and I don't want to get you fired.
I'm sorry about that.
No problem.
Enjoy being with you here.
Tell the folks how to get you again. I mean, how to reach you.
Yeah, it's Patriotic Pulpit. And that is on Amazon Music app as well as the Spotify app. And then American Liberty with Bill Lockwood, that's the donate button. And then, of course, Bible Studies with Bill Lockwood.
Right on. Thank you, Bill. I appreciate that extra time you did give.
You bet.
And if you need me to write the principal a note for you, I will.
Okay. I'll do that. All right, Jesse. Lord bless you.
What do you think about my glasses?
Oh, I love it. That's great. That's, LL Cool J. That's cool.
Thank you, Bill.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, buddy.